Okay, now we're going to go ahead and actually do the threading. So let's take a look at something here real quick. How far do I actually go for the thread? Right? It doesn't tell me other than the 1 inch, and it's going to be easy. I'm going to start out here. My tool's going to go across, and I'm going to stop right here in the middle, and it's going to make for a nice clean thread. But how far in do I actually have to go to make the threads? Well, that's pretty cool. Over here, and there's other places to find this information, but on your drawing right here, you'll see right down here at the bottom, thread depth. Thread depth is controlled through an advancement of the compound only. That's this right here. All right, so that's the little dial here on the cross slide that you set to 29 degrees. That's the only place that the advancement is happening. Okay, the amount of the compound advancement is calculated based on the threads per inch of the thread being cut. And here is the formula. 1 divided by the threads per inch times 0.866 gives you the total advancement for the compound. So look, we're doing 20 threads per inch. We're doing a half 20. 1 divided by 20 times 0.866 is 0.043. We will ultimately be moving this compound 0.043. Okay, but when we do so, remember the X up on our DRO, the X on our DRO, and down here all have to be at 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what all that means. So I'm going to pick you up here for a second, and we're going to move so you can see the process starting from this side, so you can see the mechanics involved in making it go across. Okay, and then we're going to park you so you can actually see what your tool's doing. All right, so let's do it real quick. The first thing is remember, I am 0, I am 0, and I am 0. I do know that this is my cross slide here. I'm out of the way enough, and I can go ahead and move this for about 5 thousandths. We're going to take a 5 thousandths cut. Okay, I'm moving you out of the way. 5 thousandths is all we're going to advance to an ultimate 43 thousandths. Now, I'm going to turn the lathe on, my handle. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to put myself a little bit of lube on here, and now here comes the fun part. So we're going to be watching this dial very closely, and we're going to engage the lead screw when it is on a hole number. And we're going to come around up, and now we're going. Now we're engaged. I have my hand on it so that I can disengage at a moment's notice. I'm going to wait till it falls right in the groove and down to disengage. So I push this down to disengage. All right. Now this thing goes back and does what it needs to. I've gone ahead and made my first cut in here. Everything's looking good so far. My tooltip is resting exactly where I need it to be. Wonderful. Now, how do I get from here back to here without tearing up my threads? Well, that's not a problem. What we're going to do is we're going to back this out about a turn. Out. Now we're away. Now we can take our handle and we can move ourselves back over this way to where we're clear. Once we've done that, now the important thing is we can bring this back to 0. So we're going to roll this back in to 0, and we double check ourselves, we're at 0. Okay, now we're back where we started, and then we can advance the compound again. So we're going to go another 5 thousandths on the compound. All right, we're going to go ahead and place some lube on our part, and then we're going to go back down here to watch our hole number, and watch this. Okay, we're up and we're moving. We got our hand on the lever, and we're waiting for the tool to drop into that groove. Tool's in the groove. I can stop. I come out 1 turn. I go over to where I started, and then I bring this back to 0. Okay, back to 0, and I verified that I'm back to 0, and now I can go ahead and advance my compound. So look, I'm going to set you down. That way you can see this process a little bit better, and I can talk you through it while we're doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and make an advancement on the compound. I'm going to go ahead and lube my part, wait for my hole number here. It's going to take a second to get around, and then I'm going to pull, and we're going to take the next cut. Now keep in mind too, while we're doing this, we cannot at any time change any gears or do any disconnections or anything like that, or we're going to cause some major problems with our threads. So once you start this process, you need to see it through. And we have to wait for the hole number. I missed it there a second ago. out, X is back, over, X back to 0, advancing the compound. We put the lube on. There is enough oil here, I can see it, so I'm going to forego this particular round. I'm going to go all the way to the groove, and then I'm going to disengage, back up my X, move it over, bring my X back to 0, look up on the screen, make sure that I verify that I got 0 at both places, wait for my whole number, advance my compound first, then wait for my whole number. Okay, I'm engaged, I'm rolling down, and we're going to stop in the groove. We're going to back up the X for clearance, bring it back in, back to 0. Okay, we're going to put some lube back on here, advance our compound again, and then we're going to wait for our whole number, engage, looking really good. We're going to keep our hand on there, disengage, back out our X, back in to 0. We're going to go ahead and put some more lube on here now. This is interesting. I'm at 43 at this point, okay? And even though we're going to cut here at 43 and we're not going to advance anymore, we are going to take a cleanup pass, or what will be considered a spring pass, if you would, because the metal can sometimes be pushed out of the way and then spring back when you're done cutting. So we're not going to advance the compound past 43 thousandths, but we're going to take a cleanup pass, and you can see I'm taking some material out of there, and this is not uncommon. So we're going to stop it in the groove there, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off. Now, very briefly, I'm going to do this. Hopefully I don't knock the camera over. All right, I blew the oil and debris off of that. And so from this point, like I said before, you don't want to change anything on your DRO. You don't want to change any of your dials. You certainly don't want to change anything over here on the front of the machine. But what you can do is you can actually move your tailstock out of the way and then also move your X out of the way as well in order to do some verification on your thread. Obviously, you want to know if it's right, and there's several ways to do that. We're not going to get into all of those today. However, we do have a little gauge here, and then we can put this on to see how we've done with this part. Now it's threading on, which is really good. Very minimal perceptible play, which is wonderful, and it does thread all the way to the end. So we have a successful thread. That's it. Now, if we had any issues, we could simply go back and make some other adjustments and make some more cuts. But right now, we're successful, so we're going to call this done.